Well, hello everyone. It's already 1 p.m. I don't know if we should wait for everyone. Hopefully everybody was able to join us here today. My name is Agnes. Most of you probably recognize me. Are you guys excited? Because I am. I am excited, and there's a reason behind it why. Especially when our guest is gonna be previous duty officer, you guys gonna be able to hear, professional that is out there, that has seen it all, that guys can give you advice. So this is my first time hosting event, so forgive me if I'm a bit nervous, like everybody else. I promise I'll get better as the time goes by. Again, thank you, for your time, taking out of your day and joining this meeting. Plus, this is again first time we're doing Zoom, so I hope it wasn't hard for anyone to connect to this Zoom. The coupons, as it was mentioned in the email, were sent out this morning. If you haven't received it in your inbox, maybe check your spam. If it's not in there, let me know. We'll make sure guys you receive your coupons to Dunkin' Donuts. Let me share with you some of my personal information. Maybe some of you guys know. To the ones that comes to the office more often, probably you do know. Most of you probably don't. I live in Naperville. I have 2 kids. My son is 17 and my daughter is 14 years old. My son has been already driving almost for a year. So my main goal with my kids, since I work in this industry, is to teach them how to behave, around the trucks and how not to get into accident. And that word has been spread to share and also spread to their friends. There's one more fact about me. Of course, as everybody have their pets, I do have my pets, but my pets are birds. We just got bunny and betta fish. Each of them has a very funny story behind it. If you guys want to hear, you can always stop by and I'll share with you. Going back to my professional life as a safety and claims manager, I started working in the trucking industry 5 years ago with a different company. Then I joined GTS, which was almost 3 years ago. How do most drivers know me here? Most drivers, guys, you know me if you guys got into accident or you got a DOT inspection, whether it was good or bad. Sometimes I know you don't like my pep talk, but I have to because that's my job. And obviously I want you to do your best on the road. So whatever, you guys share with me, I always pass on to everybody. So not only I know, so you guys also know. The other funny story I've heard from the drivers is when they come to the office and they hear my name, they say, "Run for your life, here comes Agnes." The one I hear her pep talks again, or maybe she'll charge me, but I say it's not always, the case. Maybe sometimes I'll give you a very nice fat bonus. You never know if you don't talk to me. So when I joined this company 3 years ago, what my goal was, since I was working in a different trucking company, I heard many feedback from the driver. And my goal was to improve the safety and to create a culture that is friendly, culture that we don't have divided office and drivers out there. So whenever you guys come in and you hear me say, call me, talk to me, I really mean it. Because guys, without you telling me what's going on in your life, I won't know. Communication is the key. The other main goal for me is to work together, not only within company, with employees and office staff, but with you guys as the drivers as well. I want everybody to be heard. I want, if you guys will, sorry, I guess I'm just getting nervous a little bit. As I always say, if you cannot reach to someone in the company, feel free to call me. We'll figure out the solution. I'll take an extra step just to make that the things are being made fair for everyone. The other thing I like to mention while working together is let's respect each other. Let's don't raise voice because, you know, on a daily basis, I understand, you know, we get stressed and sometimes we tend to lose our cool. So let's work together. Let's don't get intimidated, guys, while you're on the road. And as I say, call me, you know, and I really, really mean it. So why we're here today? We are here today is to find out what's going on out on the street, how to prevent our violations, and how to improve our safety. Last year, we had safety program that was called Driver of the Month. This year, the management and the safety departments have sat down together, and we are very excited to introduce a new program that is called GTS Safety Excellence Certification Series. Many of you guys, I don't know if you read in the emails, but it will be held each month. The drivers will have to attend 10 out of 12 meetings this year. We'll be looking at many aspects of safety: speed, harsh events, maintenance policy, which means if maintenance call you guys, ask you to come in please for oil change, come in for oil change. If you need to change your tires, rotate your tires, come in. And obviously when we're looking down to dispatch, please make sure that these deliveries are made on time. Going back to safety, make sure that your logbooks are all the time up to date. If you need, guys, any help, always reach out to your safety fleet manager. They are there for you. And obviously, when it comes to me, let's make sure that all DOT inspections are clean. We are free of accidents. If you guys need more information, you are always, you know, free to call me and ask me. We are very excited about this course, and we believe that it will be enriching experience as we will be having various guest hosts throughout the year. Let's learn the rules and regulations so we reduce our violations that can be prevented. Plus, the best truckers never stop learning. Last but not least, to the drivers that will be attending this meeting, GTS will be giving out gift cards from the different places. So please stay tuned. Every single time, guys, we're gonna let you know how to get your gift card. And at the end of the year, the safest driver gets the grand prize. I'm sure most of you probably read it. This is probably something, this is the first time actually GTS will do something like that. You guys gonna get a 5-day vacation for you and your family to Miami. So I think I'm gonna just leave everybody here. I'm really excited. I hope you guys too. And I would like to introduce John Seidl. He's the previous DOT officer. He's gonna have a conversation, guys, with us for an hour. And after that, you guys, please, please, please ask questions. There's a half hour of questions. So like I said, there's no dumb question. The dumb thing is only not to ask. Enjoy it, guys.
So just to talk to everybody on here a minute, I work for Reliance Partners. We're an insurance company. So we want to try to help you become safer so the company can save money on their insurance. That's one reason. We also don't want to hurt nobody. We want to get better rates, et cetera, which we're going to talk about. So welcome to the GTS Reliance Safety Meeting, January 2021, right? A little bit about me. I used to be a state patrol guy. So I worked the Racine and Kenosha way stations. I worked there for about 12 years pulling over drivers. So I get kind of what you guys go through in the state, or the feds pull you over and start digging through your logbook and your equipment, etc. Then I quit and I became an investigator with the feds. So I knocked on company doors like GTS. Knocked on company doors. I made sure they were compliant. I checked through their logbooks and their maintenance records and their DQ files and all the practices and everything. So I gave fines and penalties and bad ratings. I also pulled people over at the roadside. Then I was a hazmat dude with the FAA. So that's the Federal Aviation. So 23 years government regulator. And if I look like this, I'm sorry, I just get a little excited, right? So now, before we get into making more money, adding flexibility to your lives, being more compliant, reducing CSA scores, this is a driver safety meeting. You guys see this picture? He don't look much different than any of you guys on this call. You get it? Who is he? He's a guy that went to work one day and it didn't intend on hurting anybody, right? But he made a mistake. He was driving a little too fast. He wasn't paying attention. There was bad weather. And he ended up running into a minivan that had these 3 kids in it. Stay-at-home mom, Chrysler Town and Country minivan. He ran into the back of him and he got charged for misdemeanor vehicular manslaughter, right? So now we go back to him. Let's look at him. He went to work one day. Name me jobs. Name me jobs where you have someone's life in the palm of your hand. I'll do it because you guys are muted. Truck driver, pilot, locomotive engineer, boat captain, doctor, firefighter, police, military, food preparer, pharmacist. This is hard. It's hard to find jobs in America where you have someone's life in the palm of your hand on a daily basis. And I got to tell you guys and gals, one of the jobs you guys have. Now, if you don't do your job right, who goes to jail? Truck drivers have gone to jail for not doing their job right, right? Like he got charged, right? Who else? Police, you know, in today's world, police don't do their job right. They go to jail. Some might say pilots, but no, they're dead. You get it? Because it's a plane crash. That's a joke. You might say Dr. Michael Jackson, Kevorkian, and maybe Prince's doctor. Other than that, it's malpractice. So think about that. Everybody on this call, you have someone's life in the palm of your hand. Do your job right, you can go to jail. If that's not a true professional, I honestly don't know what is. You get what I'm saying? So next time you go to a high school reunion, you don't, and they say, what do you do for a living? You say, man, I'm just a truck driver. Don't ever say just truck driver, because you're minimizing the importance of what you do. So now he made a mistake and he hurt these kids. I mean, killed these kids in a minivan stay-at-home mom. In 2007, 2-year-old Katie died because they got rear-ended in 2007. Today, she would be 15. When I saw this picture, when I was a federal investigator in 2007, I said, come downstairs. And these 3 kids came downstairs. Right before this meeting, this little girl in the middle, her name's Katie. Interesting, the girl that died, her name was Katie. She's in the middle. These are my kids. And my youngest daughter's name is Katie also. Before this meeting started, I have 2 dogs. I didn't want them to bark. So I said, Katie. She came downstairs, grabbed the 2 dogs and took them upstairs in her room. And she's waiting for me to stop talking to you so she can let the dogs out, right? That's called life. But that Katie in the other picture, she don't have a life no more because of a mistake. So whenever you're behind, the bad weather, following too close, some car makes you mad, which they will, be the professional, yeah? So interesting about this is my daughter, Katie. This is one of her friends. Here, you need to mute yourself, whoever's talking, because it's really loud. All right, so this girl right here is my daughter's really good friend in high school. I was at work. My daughter got a ride home from her dad. When my daughter got in the car, because I showed this at all driver meetings, the driver of the car said, hey, are you Katie? And she goes, how'd you know my name? He goes, I'm a truck driver at one of the companies your dad talks to. And he tells us about safety all the time. And I remember your picture. Isn't that ironic that the guy who's driving my daughter home is a truck driver who I talk safety to for years, right? So now we're going to get into another part of the presentation, but never forget, we need to be safe for Katie. Yeah, we want lower CSA scores. Yeah, we want better insurance. Yep, we want to make more money. We don't want to have losses and crashes, but we don't want to hurt no Katies. If you don't care about my Katie, you have your own Katie that you do care about. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to talk about safety culture. We're going to talk about trucking. This thing called CSA, we're going to talk about that and what role it plays in all of our lives. We're going to talk about driving safely. We're going to talk about logbooks, and we're going to talk about maintenance. And that's for about 50 minutes, right? A lot of information. Safety culture, what is this? The government comes and knocks on our door when I was a Fed, and they want us to follow this procedure. For example, personal conveyance. Personal conveyance. People are confused about it. After today, you won't be. But we should have a policy and procedure on when you can and can't use personal conveyance, right? Roles and responsibilities. Drivers have a role to understand when they can't. Ownership and management and dispatchers have a role so you understand when you can and can't use it. They should never be telling you to use PC when it's not legal, right? Qualification and hiring. I'll tell you what, we got about 70 drivers that were able to log into a Zoom meeting, and we're not a 10th grader. So I'm impressed. You guys are actually pretty qualified because you figured it out, right? Training and communication. That's what this is. This is a training series that we're going to start to try to train, communicate to make us better, right? Monitoring and tracking, personal conveyance. If I see you push that button and you use personal conveyance and you're not supposed to, well, then I got to take some kind of action. What do? Do I fire everybody that doesn't use it right? No. A good thing to do is to retrain them. Keep training and make sure you guys know when you can and can't use it. But inherently, some people, even if you know you're not supposed to, they're going to push that button anyway, and it's going to be illegal. We got to stop using PC when we're not supposed to because it's causing us problems. So meaningful action could be discipline, could be a reward program for using it right, could be retraining or maybe termination. I don't know. But the best thing to do is let's start with training. Let's talk about when we can and can't use this right. So now let's talk trucking. Why is GTS in business? Why any trucking company in business? To make money. I mean, let's get real. We don't want to hurt no Katie's, but we need to make some money. Now, how do you make money in trucking as an owner? The tires got to keep going around in circles. You can't get stopped and not run efficiently because then you're out on the road away from your families and you're not making money because the tires aren't spinning as much as they should, right? Now that's for the ownership, but that's also for you guys on the call. If I can help you keep your tires spinning around in circles, we're good to go. But we also need to be good to customers. We got to treat them right. We got to be efficient. We got to make sure we don't get placed out of service because every time you get placed out of service, our tires don't move in circles. We need to understand split sleeper berth, using PC, using yard move, using some of these exemptions to our advantage, the agricultural exemption, maybe COVID, all these different exemptions that are out there, but we can't use them if we don't use them right. So you guys understand what I'm saying? We need to keep our tires moving. Now we got this big pile of money on the table. Now we have something called expenses. And you guys understand this, some of your business owners with this company, right? If we have money on the table, now we have to pay expenses in trucking. Name me the 4 expenses in trucking. What costs money running a trucking company, right? Fuel, trucks and maintenance, insurance, yes, and payroll, either W-2 or 1099. Those are the 4 things that most people would say we need to reduce our expenses because then we get more profits. Not true. There's one of those expenses we must increase as a company. Which one is it? Silence. Well, it's because you're muted. That's why you're on silent. Well, the answer to that question is payroll. We need to increase your W-2s and increase your 1099s. Why do we want to do that? Because if you pay drivers, they stay. If you give them good benefits, they stay. That means our retention's good. Then we can also recruit better drivers because they're getting paid and get benefits better than most. But we can't pay you more, and we can't give you better benefits unless you help us. We need to bring in as much money as possible by keeping our tires spinning. How do we do that? We teach you how to run more efficiently, and you guys really try to improve your efficiencies, right? Good customer service, etc. Another thing is revenue, CSA scores. The higher the CSA scores, the harder it is to get loads. Lower CSA scores, better customers, better loads. So if we don't have high CSA scores, we run efficiently, more money. Now, those other 3 expenses, we need to save fuel, maintenance, and insurance. Well, saving fuel is driving less aggressively to save fuel in our trucks. Maintenance If you don't drive aggressively, you're not going to beat up our trucks or your trucks, right? Or our trailers. The other thing is if you don't drive aggressively and you're saving fuel and taking care of the equipment, you're not going to get violations for unsafe driving, speeding, following too close. You're in the wrong lane, didn't signal a turn, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So if we can reduce fuel, drive less aggressively to reduce maintenance, do good pre and post trips, don't get placed out of service so we make more money, control our CSA scores so we make more money. Now let's talk insurance. What causes our insurance to go up? Don't crash into nothing and keep our CSA scores low. I'm gonna say it again. How do we keep our insurance costs low? Don't hit nothing and keep our CSA scores low, right? So that's trucking. Now, all I'm doing is talking in a nutshell. Do you want to make more money on your 1099 or W-2? Yep. Well, then help us. Let's bring more money and let's not pay too much in insurance and fuel and maintenance, right? So now CSA. What is CSA? CSA is a database that the government invented to decide who to go visit. I'm going to say it again. CSA is a database filled with violations for companies all over the country. And it was invented so the government knew who to call and knock on the door and do a review. Well, then a bunch of industries said, well, if the government wants to use this program, we're going to use it too. So freight brokers and shippers are like, if you have high CSA scores, I'm not giving you as good a freight. Insurance companies are like, oh, great. If you have high CSA scores, I'm going to charge you more money for insurance. Attorneys, the billboard attorneys, like, call me up if you're a truck and you got hit. They're the ones that call up and say, good, your CSA scores are high. Now we can get more money in litigation, right? And then who else uses it? The government. They come knock on our door. So we need your help to reduce our CSA scores, right? So how does that work? I'm leaving this screen. I'm going to the internet. This is our company's CSA scores. This is a general page. It's got some information on it, blah, 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 right? Now I'm going to click on this page. Now this is what I want to show you. GTS Transportation, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 CSA scores. Unsafe driving, that score is speeding, cell phones, seatbelt, following too close, you're in the wrong lane, you're inattentive, all that, crashes. How many DOT crashes do we have? How much do we crash? Hours of, what do our logbooks look like? Vehicle maintenance, brakes, lights, tires. What does our equipment look like on our truck? Drugs, hazmat, and driver fitness is the validity of your CDL, your medical card. You got it? So when you get pulled over in the United States, they look at violations and they stick all the violations into these groups. Then they break you into 5 peer groups. GTS has about 200 trucks. So we're in one peer group. Joe Bob the Ragman trucker with 5 trucks, he isn't in our peer group. He's in the Joe Bob the Ragman trucker peer group. So there's 5 groups. Schneider National's the biggest one. We're probably in a middle group, and Joe Bob the Ragman Renegade truckers in the smallest group. You guys see it? So how does this work? If we get pulled over for an unsafe driving, a seatbelt, a speeding, they give us points. The more points we get, the worse off it is. Then they compare us using this little number here against everybody else the size of us. So as I speak to all of you on the phone, being transparent, of all the companies in the United States with about 200 trucks, 69% operate their vehicles more safely than we do, according to the government. I don't believe that, but we have enough violations for speeding and following too close and being in the wrong lane that's what the government thinks, that 69% are better than us. Now that's interesting because only 24% are better than us in crashing. Yeah, we speed a lot. Yeah, we're in the wrong lane. Might be on our cell phones here and there. 69% are better than us, but only 24% crash less than us. So we're in the best 1/4 on how often we crash, but we're in the worst 3/4 in how often we get unsafe violations. But here's the deal. It doesn't matter that we're at 24% in crash. We're red in the alert for unsafe And 65% means the government might come knock on our door. We got to get out of that. Hours of service. 84% of the companies in the United States fill out and complete their logs better than we do. Now, if our unsafe driving's so bad and our hours of service is so bad, according to the government, how come we're so good at not crashing? Because we're quality drivers that just need to pay attention and not go 6 to 10 over the limit or 11 to 14. Put our seatbelt on. You guys see what I'm saying? So if we can start driving a little slower to stop getting violations for unsafe, we're good to go. Here's what's interesting. When they look at our logs, they find too many things wrong. Well, if we weren't speeding, they would never pull us over and they wouldn't look at our logs. If you know you got a problem with your logs today, certainly don't speed and make sure you're in the right lane. That's kind of like being drunk and speeding past a police station. You shouldn't do that, right? You shouldn't drink. That's my point. Don't drink and drive. And the same thing goes, don't have violations with your logs, but we're going to get into that. Vehicle maintenance. This is interesting. We're middle of the road. That's good news. We're not better than everybody else, but we're not worse. We're right there average. Now, I would like for that to improve. Where we do really well is drugs and alcohol. Out of 630 inspections, one dude that ain't even work here no more got a violation for drugs. Hazmat, nothing. Driver fitness, this would be like not turning your medical card in tied to your CDL. Yes, we're at 67% because it doesn't take much to be in the alert, but right now we're red in two categories. Let's stop speeding and let's get our logs squared away. So now our insurance comes up in August. If I push this little button here and we as a company get 0 violations between now and June, a month and a half before our insurance renewal, and I hit calculate, what's our scores going to be if we get 0 violations as an entire company? Woo! That 69 goes to 31. Woo! The 24 goes to 3. If we get 0 crashes in the next 6 months amongst everybody on this call or whoever's going to watch it, we'll be 3%. We'll be in the best 3% in the whole country. Here's the problem though, because we had so many log violations of people not paying attention. Even if we go 6 months as a company with nothing, we'll be at 64%. That's only 1% under the threshold. So we need your help. I'm going to say it again. We need your help. We need you to really concentrate on your logs. We're trying to challenge some of these log violations, but if we don't win them on a challenge, we're likely going to be in the alert when we renew. But look at where we can do with these other scores if we kick butt. Look at this, 53 to 18%. And now see how we're a red light carrier right now? We're a red light carrier because we have 2 alerts. If I do this 6 months out and calculate my scores, we go to a green carrier. You see us? Green. Green probably saves a company our size 100 grand on insurance a year amongst the whole company. Crazy amounts of money that we can help put more money in your pocket if you help us, right? So now let's talk about that. How does this system work, right? Well, I'm going to show you, right? So when I click on this button and click on hours of service, right? See how this says time wait 3? And then you scroll down and you keep scrolling down and I can keep going. And then now it says time wait 2. Time wait 2 is when the violation's over 6 months old, they multiply it by 2. Now I keep going down more and see these ones. When it's times 1, that means it's a year old. Now we keep going. These things stay on here for 2 years. This violation from December of 18 is still hurting our scores. Good thing is after 2 years, they fall off. So they multiply violations times 3, times 2, and then times 1. Well, let's count how many we have times 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. All right, we had 16 hours of service violations in 1 year. Not the last year, the year before that. We had 16. Now let's count. The 6 months after that, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We had 7. So we went 16 in a whole year. Then we had 7 of them in 6 months. The last 6 months, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we had 16 in a whole year. The last year we had 14. We need to cut total violations over the course of the year at least in half, if not eliminate them total, right? So now what are we talking about? I'm going to show you. They're multiplied by 3, 2, 1. They stay on 2 years, right? So now let's talk more about these hours of service. I'm going to click on this button. This kind of breaks it down. I'm going to scroll down. Whoever just unmuted themselves, mute yourself, right? All right. So now I go over here. You guys see this right here? It's got category, but I'm going to show you the violations per code. As I scroll down, forget driver fitness. Let's look at our hours of service. We have had 14 violations for false logs in 2 years. Then when they're out of service, they add 2 more points. Then they multiply them by 3, 2, 1. And at the end of the day, 233 of our points are false logs. What? You got to log in, you got to log out. You got to let the ELD calculate your hours. If you hit your 11, stop driving. If you hit your 14, stop driving. If you hit your 70, take a restart or recap your log. Get your 30-minute break in there. And if you're doing all that, and then you need to do more, and then you falsify your log, that's our problem. I'm going to show you guys what our score would be if we never falsified. Now, running over hours is one thing. Just let your log show your over hours, but don't falsify. Why? Because at roadside, if they catch you with a false log and they can prove you were over hours, they give you both violations. You're better off just running over hours if you're over hours. Don't lie about it, because then they get you for the lie and still say you're over hours anyway. So if we get rid of these false logs, see how I hit that button? They're gone. Woohoo! I mean, they're not really gone, but we're going to pretend they're gone. See up here how we're 84%? And I removed the false logs. Watch. This is unbelievable, right? Our score right now, instead of 84%, would be 43%. Our score is double what it should be because of false logs alone. Now, are we falsifying because, we just want to keep driving, or are we just making mistakes? Or do we misunderstand personal conveyance? Maybe we don't use yard move right. I don't know. But in order to drive this score down, we got to really be careful as to how many violations we have for false logs. So when I reset this and I look at our violations over, just the last few months, I click on this, I click on this, I click on hours of service and this, and I go like this, and see how this says false, 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 false. We got to stop that. That needs to stop, only because these are all multiplied by 3. If just in the last 6 months, just 6 months, not the whole 2 years, if we just go 6 months without these kind of violations, these false, if these 5 guys went to falsified, what would our score be if we just had these 5 drivers not do that in the last 6 months, because it's multiplied by 3? Instead of 84, we'd be 70. Then if I push this forward to our renewal, which is 6 months with no more, if we had a year that was better than the year before, no more false, we would go into renewal at 43% of green, and we'd be really far away from any issues. So anyway, that is CSA in a nutshell, right? Now we're going to keep talking. Even though we get violations doesn't mean we're wrong. Sometimes they violate us and we're not wrong. That's called a data queue. Every driver on this call, every manager on this call, we can challenge roadsides if we have enough evidence to say that the officer's wrong. One way to do it with a data queue is a citation. Let's say you get a violation, they give you a ticket, and you take that ticket to court and it gets reduced or dismissed. We can go on here, log in and say it got dismissed and it's off our record. We can log in here and say it got reduced and it's only 1 point on our record, times 3, right? So if you get citations, we can challenge them if you go to court. Now, let's say the other guy gets a warning. Well, warning's not a ticket. We can't challenge a warning unless we have proof that you weren't wrong. Now, when you have a ticket, they don't even care if you're guilty. They just want to get the money, so we just go to court with them. So what's better, a ticket or a warning? A ticket, because you can fight a ticket than data queue it. You can't fight a warning. It's more difficult. Some drivers say, well, I just got a warning. I'll tell you, that point system I just showed, it doesn't care if you got a ticket or a warning. It just adds points. So warnings and tickets are the same. So now when I say, can you fight a warning? Yes. This is a customer of mine. This load bar was secured across the sleeper berth flanges, fully extended. These air hoses had a protective coating on them, right? This truck has an air relay valve. You know when you hit your brakes and you hear, that's the air releasing from an air relay valve to regulate the air pressure in the axles in your chamber. A trailer has an air relay valve too. You know what this Minnesota inspector did? She said that this load bar wasn't secured. She said because this was rubbing on the deck with a protective coating that it's chafing. She said that on a brand new truck and trailer, when the driver hit the brakes, air came out. So it had an air leak. Well, the air was coming out of the relay valves. Come on, right? This is stupid. So we data queued it and they removed them all. So here's the thing, at roadside, if you think you're right, take pictures. And if they're like, what are you taking the pictures for? What are you taking the video for? Say it is company policy for me to video and photograph all violations because we use them in driver meetings. Little do they know we're going to use them to fight them and say they were wrong. You get it? But never be confrontational. You blame the photos and the videos on management. You say, Larry, the safety guy told me I have to take pictures and videos or I'm in trouble. Do you want me to get in trouble, Mr. Officer? No. Well, I have these or I'm going to get disciplined. I could even get days off because I don't take photos. You get it? And that's why we need those. So this green book, who's ever seen this green? This green book means you did something wrong. This book down here means whatever you did wrong, it was so bad they shut you down. This green book says a flat tire is a tire that has less than 50% pressure of the maximum marked on the sidewall. So let's say the sidewall says 110 PSI. You got to have at least 55 PSI or that tire's flat. You get it? Less than 50% of what's marked on the sidewall is flat. And if you have a flat tire, it's out of service. That's 8 points plus 2 is 10 points. I'm going back to my CSA. Check this out. Remember we were here? Remember I said our maintenance is pretty good? I'm going to show you something completely ridiculous, right? I saw this earlier. I was like, you got to be kidding me. We went through hours of service. Let's look at maintenance. Maintenance. You mean to tell me 220 points, more than triple any other category, is a flat tire or a leaking tire? Yup. So if I get rid of just flat tires and leaking tires, that's it. Just flat and leaking, nothing else. What would our score be if we made sure our tires were inflated and they weren't leaking air? Instead of 53, we'd be 40. 13% of our points are flat or leaky tires, right? So I just want you guys to focus on those key areas. These are the books that generate that. You got it? So I hate how this does this all the time. I got to go like that, and I got to duplicate the slideshow. We're all good. Unsafe driving. You can't have a GPS unit right in your face. For obstruction, you got to have everything in the truck in the top 6 inches of the windshield. You can't have nothing below the top 6 inches of the windshield unless it's safety technology or a GPS unit. But then you can only be 4 inches below the top wipe of the wiper. When the wiper's down here, you can only be 7 inches up. You cannot put it here, but you could put this GPS in the bottom corner, because when the wiper's here is up, wiper at the top, 4 inches down, you can put GPS or safety. But can you put an I-pass down here on the window? No, you got to put I-passes up in the top or put them on the dash, right? Texting and talking while driving. I'm giving kudos to everybody here. We don't have a problem with this at our company. I'm going to say it again. Don't talk and text without hands-free, but out of all of our drivers, we do a hell of a job in not getting violated for cell phones, talking and texting while driving down the road. And I commend you guys for that, because 6 to 10 speeding doesn't mean you're going to crash. Hanging out on your cell phone is dangerous. So you guys are professionals. You understand what will and will not cause crashes. Now, what does speeding 6 to 10 do too much? Kills our CSA scores, causes us to pay more on insurance, but it's not necessarily making us crash. You guys on the call for not talking and texting, kudos to you, but that doesn't mean to start doing it. Now, this slide's interesting. I put a speed limit sign and a seatbelt thing on the same slide. Why? Let's say you're going 55 miles an hour down the road and you hit head on with somebody else, like head on collision, right? Physically going 55 in your truck until you hit something. Now that car hits you and you hit the car. You both stop right away. You're in your seat, you go forward 55 miles an hour till you hit what? If any of you were thinking windshield or steering wheel, you're wrong. That's why I put seatbelt on here. Some of you are guilty. You know it's true. You were thinking I'm going to hit the steering wheel. No, you ain't. You're going to hit your seatbelt, right? Hours of service. Now, if everybody's bored and you don't want to listen, you think this is stupid, please listen to this, because I told you that false logs are one of our biggest problems. And nobody is better than anybody else at this company. We all have something to learn. For example, we did dispatcher training, and we did that about a month ago. And we sat and we discussed scenarios where you can and can't use PC, and some of our dispatchers were confused. Some of our safety was confused, some of our management, maybe even the ownership. And you know what, quite frankly, some of you drivers are confused. Now, is it your fault? Not necessarily, because we're training, we're going to educate you on it. So you guys ready for this? Pay attention. I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about personal conveyance. This is the question. When can you use it? That's this black sentence. A driver may use it when they're off duty, as off duty. So if you qualify for personal conveyance, that's line 1 of your logbook. That's off duty. Can you use PC during a 10-hour break? Yup. Can you use PC as your 30-minute break? Yup. Can you use PC during your 34-hour restart? Yup. You can use PC as off duty. When? You can use it when you're relieved from work and all responsibility for performing work by the carrier. If it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, it's a duck. If it sounds like work or seems like work, guess what? It's work, right? So you can't do stuff that's benefiting the carrier. Now get this. It says you may use PC as off duty, even if you're laden. Laden is a fancy word for loaded. So can you use PC while you have a load in your trailer? Yes. During our question and answer, if anybody says to me, well, what if I'm loaded? I'm going to say, don't ask me that question, because I made it very clear. It doesn't matter if you have a load. As long as you are not working, load or not, you're not benefiting the carrier directly, you can use PC as off duty, but you can't be working. Motor carriers can establish limitations, meaning just because what I'm about to tell you says you can, doesn't mean we think it's a good idea. So now, the next part of this guidance says appropriate uses. Now, I'm reading you the actual reg right now. Appropriate use is another fancy word for you can. Does not qualify means you can't. So there are 7 appropriate uses. You guys ready? Number 1, if you're at en route lodging, meaning you're sleeping at a motel or a truck stop or even a shipper, can you leave there in the middle of your 10-hour break and go to restaurants or be entertained? Yes. Now, I think we should put a limitation on this. We should communicate that in our question and answer, what safety thinks is good to go after this. But for an example, I would say, Anything more than 15 minutes or 15 miles while you're at a truck stop to go get a restaurant or be entertained, we shouldn't do that too far. It's entertainment. It's called Netflix or TikTok. Restaurant, it's called Pack a Lunch or Uber Eats, right? I'm just kidding. So that's number one. When you're sleeping, you can go to a restaurant or entertainment. That doesn't mean when you're at a truck stop and your shipper's 400 miles away and there's a casino across the street that you can say, I went 400 miles PC to go to the casino across the street from the shipper. Come on, they can't do that. That ain't gonna work. So that's number one. Number two, commuting between the driver's terminal and residence. Everybody say that. Terminal to residence. Residence is your home. Terminal is our company locations. That's number one. Number two, trailer drop lot to residence. Okay, so if I'm a trucking company and I drop and hook up a different trailer, drop and hook a trailer, then I can go to my house. So you can go to your house from a terminal. You can go to your house from a drop lot. Aha, ready for this one? It says between work site and residence. I bet you drivers are saying to yourself, shipper receiver has to be a work site for a driver. I'm with you, but that's not true. How do we know that? This is where the government should be ashamed of themselves. They said a work site to your residence is okay, but watch this. I didn't make this up, and the government, like I said, should be ashamed of themselves in what I'm about to show you. If you do Google and do FMCSA personal conveyance, right, on the internet, it brings you to the government's website. You click on personal conveyance to learn more. Then you click on these frequently asked questions. And you know what this says right here? A work site is something other than the carrier terminal or a shipper facility. A work site location is not a terminal or a shipper. Intended for construction and utility companies. You see that? So going from a work site to your home is not for you truckers. It's for construction companies, and we are not that. Now, I think the government's wrong. Why? Because you know what they did? They literally gave you guidance, and they said that you can go from a work site to your residence, but they didn't mean you. So I'm sorry that they did this and they buried it on an FAQ document, but now you know. At least 84 of our drivers now know that you cannot go from a shipper receiver to your home. You get it? When can you go to your home per the law? From a terminal or a drop lot, and that's it. So number one, number two. Number three, you guys ready? After you load and unload, now is the shipper receiver. After you load and unload, you can go to a nearby reasonable safe. Everybody say that. I know I can't hear you. Nearby reasonable safe. That's where you can go after you load and unload. I didn't use the word safe haven. I said nearby reasonable safe. So if I'm at a shipper and I just loaded and unloaded, I can go to a nearby reasonable safe location on PC off duty as long as it's the first location available. See that? First one. So I'm at the shipper receiver. I figure out where the closest place is. PC, drive there. Load or not, I just left a shipper receiver. I can push PC and go to a truck stop, but it has to be the closest one. If you get there and it's full, then take photos and videos and go find the next closest one. Now, where in here does it say you can load and unload, pass up 86 truck stops, get this close to running out of hours, and then push PC to find a truck stop? That is not PC. That's bad planning, right? I'll try to find one in here for you where it says load and unload and drive for 7 hours, almost run out of hours, push PC to go find a place. I haven't found it, but I'll keep looking, right? Next one. If a safety official tells you to move, you're good. You're parked on an on-ramp. They tell you to move, you're good. You're at a shipper and they say it's not safe to park here. PC. You're at a truck stop and they say it's safe for parking or we want you to park over there. Good to go. The rest of these are passenger stuff, right? Now it says would not qualify. It told me 7 areas where I could do it, which really only 4 qualify. To recap, en route lodging, going to your residence from terminal or drop lot, nearby reasonable safe, first location available after loading and unloading, and safety official. That's 4. Now it says you do not qualify. You don't qualify if you're enhancing operational readiness. You know what that is? Fancy term for work. If you have a towed unit and you bobtail to go pick up another towed unit, work. If you're bobtailing or have an empty trailer to go pick up a load with an empty trailer, work. If you're getting maintenance performed on your truck, work. If they place you out of service, you can't use PC unless the officer says okay. Last one, going to the terminal after loading and unloading. What? You cannot load and unload and go to the terminal. You can't load and unload and go to your house. You can load and unload and go to the nearest place that is nearby reasonable safe. That's it. So I just broke down personal conveyance in a nutshell. Do I think some people on this call were misinformed? Yeah, I think some people on this call were confused. That's why this is so important, because now I at least have 83 of 220 drivers. That's a little more than a third. At least a third of you won't get false logs using PC wrong, right? Now I hope the rest of them watch the video. What's new? In September of 29, they came out with some new stuff, right? One is short haul, meaning you don't go very far. Skip that a minute. Next one's adverse conditions. Aha. Everybody listen to this. Can you drive over the 11-hour rule legally? Yes. Can you drive after the 14? Yes. Adverse conditions is one way to do it, right? How does that work? At time of dispatch, this adverse emergency condition was unknown to you or the dispatcher. All right, I'll say it again. When you were dispatched on this load, you did not know emergency condition was coming, right? Now you have it planned out where you're going to get to our terminal at 10 and a half hours and 13 and a half. You guys see how good that is, right? I get to our terminal at 10 and a half hours of driving. Woo! I get to our terminal at 13 and a half hours towards the 14. Woo! And I'm on my way, and then a crash happens in front of me. And I get delayed in traffic for 1 hour. Now I'm not going to get there till 11 and a half hours. And I'm not going to get there till 14 and a half. Would I have made it otherwise? Yes. Did I know this crash happened when I was dispatched? No. You can drive up to 13 hours and up to 16 as long as you annotate the log and get approval from dispatch. You get it? So do you have to stop because of a bad crash? Maybe not. Now, does that mean you can go past where you would have gone anyway? No, you can't do that, right? So that's adverse conditions. Unknown at time of dispatch, emergency condition happens, you would have made it otherwise, but you're delayed. Now you make it within the 11 and the 14, you can go 13 and 16. That's called adverse conditions. Can you use it for like detention times and breakdowns and inspections? No. Can you use it because of loading and unloading? No. You can use it for road construction as long as that wasn't known before you started. So an example, a driver is 15 miles away from his destination and a gravel spill happens on a bridge. The driver has 1 hour left on both their driving and their duty day. Driver can stop at the exit for up to 2 hours till the road's clear, then jump on and over the 11, over the 14 drive. You just got to annotate your log. That's called adverse driving. That's partially new. That's a new thing since September. 30-minute break. All right. It used to be where it was off-duty and sleeper. You guys all know now it's off-duty, sleeper, and on-duty. They added on-duty to the 30-minute break. For example, you can now be on duty or off duty. It doesn't matter. You can actually combine them. You could do 10 minutes off duty and 20 minutes on duty, not driving, getting your 30 minutes. Now I'm going to warn you. It's not a 30-minute break. It's a 31-minute break. Everybody listen. It's not a 30-minute break. It's a 31-minute break. Why is it 31 minutes? Because 31 minutes is ensuring we get to 30. If you do 30, but it's really 29 minutes and 42 seconds, you fell short. Now we're in violation. Split sleeper. All right. We're going to do another training session on split sleeper. In September, they're now allowing 3 and 7 or 8 and 2. That means I can take this 3-hour break and add it to the 7, and this is my 10-hour break. That means I can take 2-hour break and add it to this 8, and this is my 10-hour break. I'm going to give you a little bit of taste of split sleeper if you don't know. However, no one on this call can use it until we do a more in-depth training session. Are you guys ready? Concentrate on this. But if you don't get it, don't use it. This is your first intro if you don't understand it. This is a 10-hour break. I start driving. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hours of driving, 1 hour on duty. That's 9 hours plus 1. That's 10 towards my 14, 9 hours of driving. Now I go in the sleeper berth for 7. I'm going to sleep in the sleeper berth. No off-duty consecutive sleeper. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. As long as I can add this 7 to this 3, then this 7 doesn't count towards my 14. So I'm going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Now I'm at my 14. And I've driven 9, 10, 11. I've driven 11 hours on this day and 14-hour day. This 7 doesn't count towards because it's validated with this, and that's my 10. Now I keep counting. 14 and 11, 15, 16. Over hours? No. Listen to this, guys and gals. Yes, I went over the 14, but I did not drive over the 14. You can work over the 14 as long as you don't drive on a road. So even though I did a 16-hour day, I'm legit because I didn't drive over the 14 right here, no driving, and I didn't drive over the 11 right here, no 11. So if this was time at a shipper, I could be on duty yard move and still be legal, even though I'm over the 14 and I've exceeded the 11. So now I take this 7, add it to this 3. This is my 10-hour break. Then I start counting right here at number 2. I started counting here. Now I count here. Watch. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This doesn't count because it's validated with this. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I'm good. I'm not over the 14. Wait a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Nope. It's not 17 because this added to this validates this and it doesn't count. Now, how many hours did I drive? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's it. Now I can take this 3 and add it to this 8 and start counting here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I can also do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'm not over hours. This is a legal log. Technically, you see this 2? I can't add this 7 to the 2 to validate this, but this 8 plus this 2 validates this. So honestly, here's how I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Because this 3 is validated by the 7, the 2 by the 8, and I keep going. Now that's complicated, everybody, and we're going to follow this up in one of our future sessions with a more in-depth look at this. Now, one last one, and then I'm done with this. If this was off-duty as a whole, you can't split and validate this 3. But if I have a 10-hour break here and I make sure there's 8 in the sleeper, concentrate on what I just said. Every time you go to a truck stop, this is at a truck stop. Every time you go to a truck stop, take 8 in the sleeper in a row. Here's how I count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Wait a minute, Mr. John Seidl. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. That's over hours. No, it's not. If this 10-hour break included 8 in the sleeper, because then the 8 in the sleeper can add to this 3 and validate the 3 and it doesn't count. So as long as I had at least 8 in the sleeper, 7 or 8 in the sleeper to add to this, as long as they total 10 and I have sleeper berth consecutive for 7 or 8 hours, I count like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm legal. If they pull me over here, I'm legit. But you gotta take a 10-hour break and make sure at least 7 or 8's in the sleeper. Now, this was only 2 hours, then this would have to be 8. But because it's 3, this could be 7 over here as part of your 10. So moral of the story, every driver on this call, when you're at a truck stop, do your best to take 8 hours consecutive in the sleeper as part of your 10-hour breaks. Then any of these small delays added to it are validated and will extend your day. Don't do it if you're confused. Let the ELD count it for you. Go on here and find more information on your own. Roadside, make sure that you know how to use your device. Make sure you know how to transfer it to the officer. Make sure if your device malfunctions, you notify safety immediately. If 8 days go by without a device working properly, you got to fill out the paper log for the period of malfunction, but after the 8th day, we got to get an extension from the feds, right? You know how some of these devices let you drive under 5 miles an hour and it keeps your status? I'm just letting you know that's not legal. You should be using yard move at a shipper receiver, which is on duty time, but that is what it is. Now, when we get into the sleeper berth, I'm going to show you how to split your sleeper at a shipper when they interrupt your 10-hour break. Next session we do this. I'm going to teach you how to split your sleeper berth legally, like that big long example, while you're at a shipper using yard move, right? Please put your bill of lading number on. Please put your trailer number on, and please certify your logs every day. Make sure you have an instruction card and a blank set of logs. Please, 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 right? Now, vehicle maintenance, I'm going to go over this a little faster. We got about 8 minutes left or so, right? Vehicle maintenance. She was driving down the road. Some tires came off her truck, smashed her windshield. She was pregnant. She died. So did her baby. And now poor David Cullen has to raise an 8-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 15-month-old because someone wasn't paying attention to maintenance. And this was in Illinois. We're a good company with maintenance, but I'll tell you what, let's make sure our tires aren't flat, less than 50% of the pressure marked on the sidewall, and make sure they're not leaking air. Because if we get rid of those, remember what our score looked like? Everybody say brakes, lights, tires. That's the key. Finding defects is a team effort. Drivers, do your pre and post trip. Mechanics, do your job. State patrol, if they find violations, we're in trouble. Management, walk the lot, look at our vehicles. Walk the lot, look at our vehicles. Every time I go there, I try to look at the vehicles in the lot. Now, of these, how many of these can add points to our CSA score? Let's say, remember I told you it's 8 points for a flat tire, plus 2 for out of service. That's 8 plus 2 is 10, times 3 is 30, because it just happened. So 30 points for a flat tire, right? If a mechanic finds a flat tire, how many points is that? 0, because drivers, mechanics, and supervisors can't add points to our score, only if the state patrol finds it. So if we're proactive in our maintenance checks, then the state patrol won't find squat. Okay, these are Jeff Gordon tires, and I said it. I said Jeff Gordon because I like Jeff Gordon. All right, so now what is this? This is a picture of a truck. See how here where it has white, this is white reflective tape on the back of the cab, 12 inches long. Can this be red and white? No. Can this be red and white? No. Mud flaps, you need 2 mud flaps. What's the color of the tape on these? Red and white. Can you put red and white mud flap tape on the back of the cab? Nope. What does this have to be? White. Now see all these other pictures? These are lights, headlight, high beam, turn signal, marker lights, clearance lights, etc. Right? Trailers. What is this in the corner of the trailer? White tape. Can you put red and white up here? Nope. Bottom of the door, red and white. ICC bumper, red and white. This wears off all the time. Write that up if it's messed up. Red and white tape on the sides, half the length of the trailer spaced evenly. Red and white, red and white, red and white, red and white? No. White, 12 inches long. Push rod travel. Do you know that brakes out of adjustment and out of service have the same value as a bad tire? Everybody on this call, hear what I have to say. Make sure on your steer axle, now I could get into technical stuff, which we will in a future maintenance training, but 1 3/4 inches is the most that push rod can come out of your steer axle chambers. I'm gonna say it again. 1 3/4 inches is the maximum amount of inches that push rod can come out of your chambers on a steer. 2 inches on all other brakes, your drives and your tires, your trailer tandems, 2 inches. You can only have the push rod come out 2 inches on your drives and your trailer. Only 1 3/4 inches on the steer. Now, if you have long strokes, that means it's a bigger chamber. You can have a little bit more. However, if you have a long stroke, just stick to the 1 3/4 inches and the 2 inches. Don't think you have a long stroke and you don't, and we get points, right? If you want the technical part of it, a long stroke is a bigger chamber. On the steer, it can be 2 inches. On the drives and trailer, it can be 2.5. Do you know how you know what a long stroke is versus a regular? Where the hose comes into the chamber, if it's square, it is a long stroke. If it's circle, it is a regular. Now, ABS light, turn your key on, make sure this light comes on and off. Your trailer, turn your key on, make sure this light comes on and off. Warning buzzer, push your brake pressure down when you're in the truck. It's winter, but you should be able to check this. Make sure your brake air warning light and your buzzer comes on. Make sure that when you push the buttons in and you hit the brakes, that the air gauge will come down. Make sure it builds back up. If it keeps falling, you have an air leak where your compressor can't keep up. Last step, and I know it's cold, roll the window down, turn the engine off, hit the brakes. Make sure your glad hands are not leaking. We track trailers all the time. Your number one air leak on a semi-tractor trailer is going to be your glad hands, right? Check your decal for your annual inspection. Make sure your hoses are not touching and chafing and rubbing flat spots or through the outer ply, right? This is a funny one, oil or grease leak. They have new guidance. In order to be a violation for a grease leak, it has to form a drop and drip during the inspection. I'm gonna say it again. Has to form a drop and drip during the inspection. New company policy. Everybody's gonna be issued a shop rag. When the inspector's, inspecting your truck and you see a drop, you say, "Inspector, look over there," and you wipe it up real quick. Ah, that's a joke. I'm just kidding. So, but if you do want a shop rag for that, we won't be upset. All right, look at this. Brakes, lights, tires. Brakes, lights, tires. Brakes, lights, tires. Brakes, lights, tires. Other than emergency equipment, meaning your triangles and your fire extinguisher, pretty much everything in the country is all about brakes, lights, and tires, BLTs, right? So now how do I know that's true? Let's go look at us again. Remember? And I click on this and I scroll down and at this, let's look at our maintenance. What is causing our maintenance? I already told you about the flat tires. Oh, 230 seconds. Oh, flat tire. Oh, brakes. Oh, lights. Oh, brakes. Oh, lights. Oh, lights. Brakes, brakes, brakes. BLT. All I see is BLTs. Now, if you like BLTs, then we're doing a good job. Get it? That's a joke. It's a tough crowd. I don't hear anybody laughing. This stuff must not be funny. I'm joking. All right, so clearinghouse. Let's not go crazy, but let's not do drugs. Let's not refuse tests. Now, let's not get busted admitting to smoking dope. Don't do all that stuff because now your name is in a clearinghouse. There are 50,000 truck driver names in this clearinghouse. Prior to January 6, 2020, what did the driver do? Test positive, get fired, lie on his application, go get another job. That's how it worked. It doesn't work that way anymore. You can't stop your name from getting placed on this thing. It's the last slide and then we're done. I'm pretty good. I said an hour and I'm right there. Woo-hoo. The PSP is called the Pre-Employment Screening Program. I told you in order for us to be successful, we need to bring in revenue and reduce our costs. We need to control our CSA and you guys help us do that. But some of you drivers might not like GTS. Some of you be like, I'm out of here anyway, I don't care, right? So how do I get you to not screw up our scores? Well, it's called the PSP. Do you know that every violation you get for every break, for every light, for every overweight, for every speeding, ticket or warning, all your crashes get reported to this system and every employer in the United States can pay $10 and get access to your entire record that hurts company scores. Now, why do I tell you this if you don't care about GTS? I don't know, because maybe you'll care about yourself. And if you care about yourself by default, that will help GTS. So if you're only here 4 months and you're on the way out anyway because you hate your life and you hate your job and you hate everything, well, at least you won't screw up our scores because you might care about your own record. Fair enough? So now, safety management cycle. New company policy. Make sure your tire ain't flat. Make sure your tire ain't leaking air. What's your role? Make sure it ain't flat or leaking air. Can you tell that it isn't? I just told you it's our biggest problem. Please check your tires. If you have any flat tire from here on out, you're fired. No, I'm just kidding. That's a joke, right? But let's just do a better job. So moral of the story, let's increase our revenues, decrease our costs, improve your pay, reduce retention issues, recruit better quality drivers, and become the best company in America. That's what I'm trying to compel you guys to do. So I think we're now going to talk about questions. I think you can unmute yourself now and you can ask any questions that Mr. Johnny